Okay, yeah. There we go, finally. So, sorry for that little snap. We are going to be doing something a little different in terms of video quality today. Um,
Video quality.
well, video content, I should say. The reason why is because I have felt
Wu-Tang!
I did not need it. Anyways, I guess we should introduce my guest, so you're not questioning it.
Late Night CJ on YouTube, aka Sweet Daddy in the streets.
Oh my goodness! And the reason we're doing this instead of uploading another 2 or 3 Code Vein videos is because I've had finals this week, and so I'm feeling kind of burnt out. So we're kind of doing this instead, just for like A, to see how it works out, and B, to kind of get myself a little bit of stress relief and have my brother play games because of personal reasons. But anyways, we're gonna just do like a little video on like us talking about games and just having a relaxing time.
Yeah.
So I guess like the first thing we should bring up that kind of interested both of us is console games on consoles not being fully ready.
Right.
The most immediate response we have is Cyberpunk 2077 when it first came out.
And I just want to let everybody know I'm back eating on here. And pumpkin spice is trash. But continue.
I guess we should go with your opinions on this, Dad.
Well, in college, I studied marketing. And in an economy we have, it's supply and demand. Well, I feel with Cyberpunk, they created a demand before having the supply.
Having a demand, so they were trying to hype up the game before the game was even fully ready.
And we live in a society where it's like somebody says, "You got it? You got it on you right now? Okay, I want it." Well, they don't be like, you can't tell somebody like, "But hey, in a month,
it's not ready yet." Though it's like they're trying to like, "Hey, it's not ready." Like, no, I want it now.
But they made it seem like it was ready. Everywhere you look, it was on the side of some can or some commercial.
It was like Monster, I believe, that was on the site of, or Rockstar.
One of them.
Yeah, like the way I see it, I say kind of like both parties are at fault. There was a meme going around. If I can post it with if I'm being honest, subpar editing skills, I'll probably post it like an image of what it looks like. But the image itself is of the project of like the creators of Cyberpunk 2077 saying like, and the fans saying, hey, we want the game, and Cyber 27 is like, it's not finished yet. We aren't done yet. And the fans are like, no, we want the game now. We don't care that it's not finished. And then Cyberpunk is like, oh, all right, fine, here's the game. And then it shows the fans complaining like, hey, what the heck? Or to be honest, it was saying like, what the. It's like, hey, why are you selling us this broken game? It's full of bugs and everything. Well, it shows the creators walking out.
That's the thing, though. It's like, okay, you've done them. Oh, it's coming, and you generate this interest that becomes too great, and it was like now it's like you have to. At least instead of it being like, y'all want the game? Y'all want the game? All right, here is the game. It's like, wait, y'all want the game like now? Yes, we want the game now. Does it work a little bit? Oh, it should. You know what I'm saying? All right, here we go. Here you go. There goes the game.
Yeah. Like the way I
see
it.
Like on the Price is Right. Boom, 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 boom.
Like the way I see it, kind of like we were talking about a little bit ago, is like it's kind of on both parts.
Yeah. There's some duality to it.
As a person who plays games a lot and someone who actually does gaming for YouTube, you know, it's not big. I can tell, not yet, but or if it ever does, I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes too up.
Shoot for the stars, huh?
What I want to say is, as gamers, I won't deny that there is a sense of entitlement there. Yeah. I won't deny, and a bit of impatience. Or us being impatient. Me as a personal person, I can get impatient when it comes to games. Because like I was like, when's it gonna come out? When's it gonna come out?
Right.
And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but like,
Well,
the game where like I want to
what
come
was
out.
it? Mortal Kombat X, right?
Yeah, this is X.
But at least they said, okay, they dropped like the trailer in like the first quarter of the year, and then they're like, it's coming out on Christmas. So it's like, okay, so our expectations.
Like we have an expected time frame.
Right. Well, with this one, it was just like you just seen it everywhere.
Yeah, it was like this game, Cyberpunk 27, was hyped up for years. Apparently, I believe it. The last time I checked, it was like 5 years.
Think about this. I was seeing it everywhere, every store, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like a DC Marvel movie coming out or something. I'm like, because they started doing that.
I think who was it? Keanu Reeves was like, he was like one of the faces for it. That's the face you were seeing everywhere.
Before knowing it was going to be a game, I literally thought it was a movie. I was like, oh, when is this movie going to finally come out? So if I'm sitting here looking at it like, when is this movie coming out? I can only imagine what the gaming community was thinking.
Yeah, because recently I've had a Steam account for a while, but it's not until recently I actually bought a game on there. Mm-hmm. And like they had a countdown. Sure. Like for the last few days, they were having a countdown to when the game was going to be released. I was like, oh yeah, that game's coming out. And I didn't have that much interest in it. I was like, oh yeah, it's that game that has like that Keanu Reeves or at least someone who looks like him on the side of the cover.
So was it kind of like a combination of Neo from the Matrix meets the Bourne Identity?
Kinda.
With a splash of Jason Statham from like the Transporter or something.
I was thinking like if you took Neo from like the Matrix and kind of, I guess you want to say make him look like the Winter Soldier.
Somebody came in here. You smell that popcorn? Didn't you? That why?
That was my younger brother. He came in. He smelled the popcorn. Mm-hmm. You can have some here, but don't be smudging on it too hard because the mic can pick you up.
It's all right though. That's what you know what? Hey, wait,
where you taking the popcorn?
No, my brother. We about to make the pieces here in a second. You can get some of the popcorn.
Going back to the game though.
Yes.
From the look on the game, excuse me, went down the wrong pipe. When the game first came out and everyone was showing the gameplay, everyone was like, it looks like a PS2 game on a next-gen console, and they didn't iron out any of the issues. Right. However, this was mostly a console problem.
Right.
That being like PS4 and Xbox, where you had major bugs and texture issues where the game didn't look that good. It wasn't super clear.
Right.
Like the textures on certain items look, to be blunt, Tyson, or cover your ears. It would to be
trash.
It looked trash.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, we were fine. We didn't have to cover your ears.
Uh-huh.
Keep this somewhat family friendly.
Right.
And that's like the whole idea. It looked bad. They said it was mainly the bugs where people were freaking out about. I haven't seen any of these bugs. Like someone said, like the worst thing is like they clipped through a car while they were driving. Like the game didn't crash or anything, but it was just kind of funny to look at. People were like, we didn't encounter any real game breaking issues. And people were like, this game should have came out on the Xbox Series X/S
Walrus.
And the PS5. And to an extent, I kind of agree with them. Like this game was probably clearly made with next gen consoles in mind. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, what do we do? Well, we have next gen consoles coming up, and then if I'm being honest, gamers can get impatient, like I was myself. But mine's for completely other reasons.
I think the impatience for some comes from the hours of entertainment.
Oh yeah.
That especially in the time frame that we're in now with all this COVID, to have something that can occupy time so that you don't just sit there and submerge yourself in the thought of being, I'm in the house. I'm not doing it. At least if I got this game or something like that.
It's like, especially people who do gaming for a living. Personally,
this is disgusting.
Well, I personally want to be a teacher. YouTube being more of like a side thing right now, unless I really get big, and then I'll do both.
You never know.
You never know. I can definitely see that, like the hours of entertainment. You can understand this. Mm-hmm. My other parent doesn't really understand that, but that's a little shade I'm gonna leave for another day.
Shade.
But when it comes to like games, like people get different values of entertainment from certain things. People get like the Marvel movies, for one example. People getting really.
Remember how I used to be all into Tiger Woods golf?
Yeah, like that. Like that was a genre of game that you really enjoyed.
I would literally play for those. They go in rounds. That's 18 holes. I could play 3 rounds back to back, which was a lot of time for me.
Like I have seen him do it before too.
Yeah.
I like personally. It was when I was younger. I was like personally, I didn't understand the appeal because my type of game when I was younger was like Mario, Sonic, and to an extent, this is not a little bit of shade throwing like Mortal Kombat. Even though I was like 10 years old when I first saw, I was like 4 or 5.
It just shows that the game is legendary.
4 or 5. A little bit of shade throwing because, in all honesty, I probably shouldn't be seeing that because I had issues sleeping for a few years. But
should have had it on the Nintendo because they didn't have the blood and the fatalities weren't as gruesome. But you're right.
Yeah.
Desensitize you to now the games that they have now. It's like whatever.
Well, in games, not in real life. If I saw that stuff real life, I'd be like, oh.
What you mean you couldn't handle somebody getting their spine snatched out?
Well, that's unrealistic unless you're built like those body shows.
What was that one?
The Suns
raid and put the lightning bolts in, and all of a sudden, meat waffles everywhere.
Yeah, it's cartoonishly over the top. Like like with Mortal Kombat 11, for example,
Right.
you see the detail going into how someone dies, with the eyes rolling into the back of the head, with the sudden jolt of when the head is appear.
The X-rays.
The X-rays and the and the newer fatalities. That's when they were like, okay, this is like, I believe the developers saying like, we had trouble sleeping because essentially they had to watch horror movies over. Imagine having that around you all the time. Ooh, something stuck.
I would be nervous of the person that comes naturally to like, they're like, I got an idea.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna kick the hell out of him, break a tooth, crush his chest plate, and then you're gonna snatch his guts out and eat him. Ah! You're
Yeah.
like, who hired Bob? Who hired him?
Yeah, I guess
How did he pass the personality test? We need to figure that out.
That's actually kind of leads us into Mortal Kombat being like the next issue that we're talking about with like game development released on certain consoles, because the whole reason we have an Xbox One and the whole reason I'm able to like make videos today is because, well, Warner Brothers Studios, I believe, I don't think it was NetherRealm, but I think it was Warner Brothers. If I could be wrong on either or.
Is that the one that owned the rights to the movie?
Warner Brothers is the one that like the big like company that owns like Animaniacs and like they own NetherRealm Studios, who makes Mortal Kombat. I believe they're the ones. I'm not sure on which. I'll probably put it.
So NetherRealm went into animation, kind of like how Pixar and all.
Well, no, they're not animation. Like Midway, the ones that made Deception, Deadly Alliance, Armageddon.
Why did they fall out? Because they was too cartoonish.
No, they just didn't have enough money anymore. They just went bankrupt. And
what? Wait, whoa, roll that back. How does the company that puts together Mortal Kombat, that's been going on since I was in high school, I think I was a freshman, which means it was like around 92 that came out, and a company went out of business?
Mortal Kombat was their only, I believe, it was like one of the big flagship titles. They didn't really have a whole bunch, but the reason Warner Brothers like went in and bought.
I'm gonna prove a point to you right now. What MC Hammer song do you know?
I don't know any MC Hammer songs.
What's the one that they play in the Cheeto commercial?
I don't watch TV anymore, so we don't have cable where I primarily live.
Well,
where
he
I'm here.
A song called "You Can't Touch This."
That song. I know that song.
Okay.
That's like the only thing I.
That's the one that you just need to know. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, so even if Mortal Kombat was their only successful game, they couldn't eat off of that.
It's just at the time like shady. Warner Brothers though came in, they bought the game because Mortal Armageddon was decently successful, but it just wasn't enough to keep the company afloat. So Warner Brothers came in, they bought it, and they saw like the success with like.
You know what my problem was with them, with Midway?
What?
Because that's the one I always ask you about. That's the one that had, you said it was Deception.
It was everything, I believe.
Shujinko, right?
Shujinko was in Deception, yes.
Okay. That one, and I believe it was the one right before that. I used to tell you.
Deadly Alliance.
When I told you, I was like, why are they looking so cartoony? It was like it was
It
always
was like I believe it was. They were always kind of cartoony.
now this was
But it was like when they. It's because they
made them all overly muscular and even
some
the dude,
of them.
remember the dude that threw the ropes down on the ground and then he would
Malvado.
yeah,
like
that whatever that was this
that was Deadly Alliance. Yeah.
okay. That one right, that's the one where they brought out the dude with no skin and he had the flies.
No, the meat was the one who had no skin, and
Okay.
he was just like a texture.
So it
like,
is the one before that. The one,
Four
Yeah.
was the one where it was like kind of
I was like,
cartoonishly.
what is this? Because for me, because when it came out, they were going up against Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Street Fighter always had the cartoonish type characters like Ryu, Ken, Guile. Remember Guile would comb his hair, he had the flat top that went out. And
Yeah, but like
Blanca.
with Guile though, like with the first Street Fighter,
But this is what I'm saying.
Like-
If you look at the first Mortal Kombat, they were realistic.
it was going to be like based on a Jean-Claude Van Damme
Right.
character, and that's why Johnny
Bloodsport.
Cage Bloodsport, and that's why Johnny Cage kind of looks like him.
Yes.
In the first game,
And that's why he was an actor too.
he was
Kinda
an
gave it
actor
that.
who wanted to like I do my
You
own
know what?
stunts.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
We were talking about it the other day when we were in the car, all of us, and you know, their concepts, how they came up with these games and names back then was really
It was going to.
Noob Saibot.
It was-
Boone and Tobias.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny because it was going to be Boone and Tobias, but it's like I believe it was first called Noob, and then later I believe it was in the later games when he was like playable. I believe they still called him Noob, but his full name was like Noob Saibot, or the Shadow was called Saibot.
But see, that's what I'm saying is like, and then now, like you put it together, like
It's just Noob now.
Bloodsport, and then you got Johnny Cage, and then you got like in Tekken, was it which one is Tekken? The
Tekken had
Long or Law?
Fei Law was the Bruce Lee clone.
Right,
But
Remember one of
his
the
son,
remember one of the skins though
well,
they had him with the yellow jumpsuit
like,
and all of that.
but his son, Forrest Law, I believe, his son was the true Bruce Lee clone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
Like
man,
every fighting game has like their own Bruce Lee clone because he was the big fighter at the time. Like nowadays, who do you know that makes, unless they're like a big continuing franchise, who really has like a Bruce Lee type character in their game?
it's a different era.
It's a different era. Like now, who would be like the most? Since I'm not, you're more like into. I've seen you watch like the boxing matches and maybe a mixed martial arts match here and there. That's why I'm asking. Like, who do you think would be some of the character? Like a new person would be like the quote unquote Bruce Lee archetype character. Like he's the famous fighter of this time.
Well, this is where we're gonna go way down in the rabbit hole.
But just throw out the name and we'll kind of like.
in mixed martial arts. I mean, now let's extract the fact that he has personal issues outside of the octagon. I would say like John Bones Jones. He's like a tactician. He has power. He can throw the hands. He can go on the ground. He can do kicks. He can do elbows. He can do all these types of things. He's like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to fighting. Kind of like the characters that they always attach to Bruce Lee moniker to. Is
like they're simple to pick up in some cases.
you can button mash and figure out how to work the Bruce Lee characters.
Well, not always because we'll tie this back to Mortal Kombat 9, for example, the reboot that came out in 2011 for Mortal Kombat. Liu Kang was not the easiest character to use. In the first one, yeah, but we're talking about 9 when it was rebooted. He was a bit more on the technical side, I guess you could say. You had to be really quick with your button presses.
I think they wanted
like
to get
him
away
and
from that whole stigma of it being the button master, easy guy to pick, kind of like
Eddie, like for example, for Tekken, Eddie Goro was, if we're being completely honest, he was like kind of like a button mashy character. Eddie Goro, the guy who practiced, I'm probably gonna butcher this, capoeira.
yeah, the guy who dances, the one
Yeah.
with dreadlocks.
Yeah, Eddie Goro.
Capoeira.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'll probably
It originated in Africa, I believe, in Angola.
yeah.
And when they brought some of the slaves down there to Brazil to do it during the seasoning process, that's where they kind of turned them into slaves. They were doing that, and the people that were holding them captive was like, Oh, they're just over there dancing.
Yeah.
Not even realizing they're over there sparring. And that's why if you look at the South American countries that are predominantly Afrocentric,
Yeah.
they don't have the history of slavery like the United States did because they put that capoeira on that almost cussed with this family show.
Yeah.
They put that capoeira on. They was like, yeah, dance to this, and they said, yeah, feel the beat of this.
Yeah, we got way off topic, if I'm being honest. It's always, yeah, this is just kind of like us practicing and messing around with like the whole idea of like kind of like just doing like a podcast of us talking. Going back to
The pilot episode.
the pilot episode, yeah, we don't know what we're doing yet. Kind of like when I was doing with Code Vein, where I was just recording stuff at 10-minute intervals.
But back to what we were saying
about Warner Brothers.
Well,
Kind
let
of
me
like,
ask you this then:
all right,
who had the best console?
the best console in my opinion.
'Cause
Of
you-
like, all right,
with the games, it can't be like okay,
because
this-
it had like for example, like nowadays, or do you want to go like back then when I was young?
Give me your top 3, starting with the
Like,
least favorite.
Games or consoles?
They go together because
Well, certain games go on certain consoles, like Street Fighter.
Well,
like
then-
the new one, the Street Fighter 5 isn't on Xbox, but it's on PlayStation and it's on PC.
well, how about this? And not to get all technical, then you tell me what your top 3 games are all time.
That's actually difficult to ask me.
We'll make it a Mount Rushmore. The top 4 Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Game.
All right. If I were to games that I enjoy that I can constantly go back to and say, you know what, I like this. The story maybe that it might be cheesy, might be corny. Code Vein is one I go back to often, but that's mainly for character creation. And like, oh, this character
So
looks.
that's number 4.
Code Veins, yeah, because I like going back there and just making
So
characters that look like from the shows I watch.
Number 3.
Number 3,
Yes.
Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2.
On
Okay,
Xbox One.
it's on all the consoles, even the Switch. It just came there later.
Right.
The game is bad in the sense like in online where people can cheese you and just do stupid stuff. But if you're looking for just like a fun Dragon Ball adventure to
Right.
like customize your character and just have fun and play with your friends, I
Right.
would say it's a decent game. It's enough to have fun and to like play around.
Right.
2 is just like an amalgamation of the series, being Kingdom Hearts. Until recently, not like super recent, I say recently like in the past few years, it was basically like an exclusively PlayStation and Nintendo based system where the main games would be on the PlayStation, but like the side games would be on like the Nintendo consoles.
Right.
It wasn't until recent years that we got them on Xbox and I was able to experience the whole series.
Right.
So, and number 1 would be Dragon Ball Fighters.
Hold on. What was number 2 again?
Number 2 was the Kingdom Heart. It's like the series as a whole is the thing. It's like they had like
I remember you was telling me about that. It was like it's a combination of several characters.
characters and like
Didn't it have like Disney?
it had Disney and Final Fantasy,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
you wouldn't think Final Fantasy had like a serious plotline.
Right.
And Dragon Ball Fighters being my number 1. I could go on there because it's a fighting game and it's Dragon Ball related.
So you sound a little biased because didn't like half of your list is like
It's Dragon Ball games, but you asked me which ones I liked of all time.
okay.
So like it was off the top of my head. Like,
Well,
if I actually do make a list in the future,
okay. So
it'll be
give it to
something
me again. Hold on. I wish I had a pen. Let's write this. I wish we could write this down.
All right,
Okay.
so
no, coming in at number 4,
Code Vein.
Code Vein. Okay. Code Vein.
All right, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is 3.
The one you always playing in the room.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, the one where it has like a little store area, and then you go out and you're flying back and forth. and you're
Yeah.
fighting. Okay.
2 is the Kingdom Hearts series, like the
Right.
series of games, mainly for the story. But hey, that game came out when I was like 3.
Yeah.
And Dragon Ball Fighters is number 1.
Huh.
It's stylized. It's a good fighting game. It involves Dragon Ball, which is one of my favorite series.
Right.
Again, I watched it. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, I watched the series at 4 years old. It was on reruns on Cartoon Network. And
Hooked.
it was on reruns on Cartoon Network, but it only showed up at night, and I couldn't sleep on Saturdays, so it came
Was that
up.
like some Adult Swim. No,
It was Toonami, I think. Not it was Toonami or whatever it's called now. Like it's Adult Swim but with anime.
Right.
So I came on and
what you call it was on there. Lupin the Third.
I think Samurai Jack was on there as well.
Yeah.
But when I watched it, it was doing reruns and it was a Cell arc. So the first thing I saw was this giant bug man drink a person.
Drink a person.
I can show you later, but yeah, he has a stinger. He stuck it into a dude's back and he drank him.
Jesus. Well, that's what spiders do.
Yeah, I know, but imagine seeing that on screen at 4 years old in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Traumatizing, but I was hooked. But going back to the games and because we keep getting off track.
It's fine. It's flowing. It's going back to Bruce Lee. He said, "Be water."
Yeah. Going back to again with Mortal Kombat X, the whole reason we have videos now is because it was the whole reason we were going to have the game. It would be on the Xbox 360, which it was originally released. It was going to be on the 360, and our dad, late night CJ, was going to buy it for it. It was like, hey, we don't need to get the Xbox One because it's going to be on the 360, and that way we can still play it and have fun.
That is true.
Then, I believe a few weeks or a couple days later,
they swindled me, sent me an email talking about we ain't putting it on no 360. You bums better go buy an Xbox One. We put a lot of time and money in the Xbox One. You better go get one.
Yeah.
Want to buy it on a 360? The nerve! I can just imagine them sitting up. The nerve!
This kind of ties into something which I kind of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, the first game.
Can I get my Mount Rushmore?
You can get your Mount Rushmore. What's your top 4 games? We'll start with number 4.
Now, we're doing this all off the top of it. This is totally impromptu.
This is impromptu, yeah.
This right here is going to show my age in a lot of ways.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay. Now, in one of the games that I'm speaking of, I'm gonna do not that one yet, but I'm giving a caveat. You said the one that had the series.
Yeah, the series.
Right, because if you start doing 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like okay, well, number 4 and then 3 and then number 9 and number 11. Those are it would take up the whole list.
Yeah.
But okay, let's get into it.
Okay.
Coming in at number 4.
Number 4.
Sonic the series.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
And the reason why I said that, because when it came out on the Sega Genesis, all the stuff that I'm about to name, I played hours upon hours, and it was constant entertainment. Some levels were lame, some games were lame, but as a series,
you liked it.
I liked it. Okay,
but you can't play the newer ones now because they gave you vertigo, right?
Oh yeah, totally. The whole little movement while I'm stationary just makes me about to vomit.
So I would say it's like Sonic 1, 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and maybe a few like the other ones, like before they got to like the 3D era.
Yeah, before all that.
Okay, so Sonic series,
old school joints,
old school Sonic. All right, that's number 4.
Coming in at number 3, Super Mario Brothers 1 through 3.
All right. When we're talking, I guess I should bring this up. Are we talking about the American version of 2?
Absolutely.
Okay, the American version of 2. For those of you who don't know, I'm surprised you guys don't know this at this point, but the original version of Super Mario Bros. 2 that we got in the West was like a reskin version of like another game that I don't know off the top of my head. I apologize. But the game was just reskinned with Mario characters, gave it to us because the Japanese thought that Super Mario 2, The Lost Levels, now that it's called, would be too hard for us without a guide. And to an extent, they were kind of right. You probably could have beat it if you put enough effort and time into it.
Right.
But if you weren't going to beat it without a guide, like...
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Coming in at number... Damn.
2.
No, I mean, it was number 2, but
well, I could probably think of what's number 1.
People are going to hate me for this.
Maybe.
Because we just talked about it in the previous. You know, depending on how you edit this.
I might make it a whole one part,
or
just like make it fun.
Whatever. I'm going to go with this one because of the consistency. Because the other one that I would make it comparable to had a few air balls, a few bricks in there where it was just like, I don't touch that. I didn't never like it at all.
All right.
At number 2, it's gonna hurt me. Please don't kill me in the comments. Street Fighter. And the reason why I didn't go with Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat has 11 of them.
Street Fighter has well. If we're talking about main series releases, Street Fighter has 5. But if we're talking about all the re-releases where it has like Championship Edition, Tournament Edition, Ultimate Edition,
Capcom versus Marvel, all of them,
like all the spin-offs related to them where they have.
We're talking about
main series,
main series one. They have less missteps than Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, like say Mortal Kombat 3, I really didn't like that one.
I didn't like it either.
When they started having like Goro's whole family tree showing up in there.
Well, they didn't really have it because they're not related to him. They mention him.
They're all in the same like
race, like the race of
or species.
Species, yeah.
And it was just like, okay, what are we doing? Like the one that had the tiger stripes, the one
Kintaro,
the
Shiva.
Girl. Yeah,
Shiva.
It was like, okay, what are we doing? It's
Most
four-armed people.
The Shokan, yeah,
right.
And I guess I'll jump in with this as well. Like if we're talking about like Street Fighter 2, or Street Fighters as a series has had more problems, I guess. Not with story. Street Fighter 5 story we'll not get into that because I haven't played the story.
Remember when Mortal Kombat came out with Shujinko and all that? It was like, and then they had Baracho. Where are all these people coming from?
Shujinko is based off like he was supposed to be the next generation Liu Kang, but he was born before Liu Kang.
Right.
And Bo' Rai Cho was based off the Drunken Master, but
right.
Personally, I like Bo' Rai Cho as a character. He's not that bad. It's just like
it was
people.
Jackie Chan. No, was it Chow Yun Fat? Or no, it was
Chow.
No, it was. Fat. It was Jackie Chan movie, The Drunken Master.
Yeah,
he was all drunk in the movie. I remember.
Yeah, like personally, like I said, I like Bo' Rai Cho, but people don't like him because he's fat. He makes fart jokes and he pukes.
Throws up.
Yeah, people don't like him for that. I'm like, oh yeah,
well,
but he's the guy who trained Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
His name is Spanish. Baracho means drunk.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, though. They had, in my opinion, don't kill Cash Bear, don't come for me either. They had a few more few more games that I just absolutely didn't touch. I mean, I played it because it came out and it was nostalgic, but for the most part, I was just like, play it, and I'm like,
it's all right.
It's kind of like eating a meal. It's like it's not horrible, but I ain't gotta eat it ever again.
Yeah, I could kind of see that.
And that's why I picked Street Fighter. And another thing about Street Fighter is, no matter what game that they come out, and this might be the noob or the old man in me, you can always do the moves for Ryu and Ken.
Because they are
Hadouken. You can always do that.
Because they are the vanilla characters. If you want to give a comparison to a modern game that I play, Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter are kind of like Goku, or like they're like Goku and Vegeta in Fighters. They're the two easiest characters to pick up in the game. One slightly, they have like the same type of playing style, but like they're the easy characters to pick up.
If Street Fighter came out with another game today, what would be the first player that you would grab on there?
Yeah, either a character you like to see if they made it to the roster, or Ryu and Ken if you want basic vanilla characters that you know how to play.
Right.
You would start with them and gravitate out.
Right.
Like for me, I did start in Street Fighter 4 with Ken, but I branched out. I played, I believe his name was Yang, who was in Street Fighter 3, but they put him in Ultra 4, and I really never veered away because if I'm being honest, I never played the game all that much.
Okay.
So number one, what's your number one before we veer any further off topic?
Number one, this will probably be the only one where I'm not gonna name the series, but it'll be, I believe. Oh
I thought this would be an easy one for you, if I'm being honest.
Tiger Woods. It was either 07 or 08. It was one of those.
But okay, yeah, it fell into that. But like the Tiger Woods series is like your favorite game.
And the reason why I say that is because it taps into a deeper state of consciousness for me. And I explain golf to people. I'm not even like a golf fanatic where I will play it or watch it. Only on there, right? Because of the concept of the sport. So you give somebody a stick. In essence, we're gonna break it down to its like the most
basic fundamentals.
A stick with a head on the end of it, whatever it's made of. Say you want to use a rock tied to the end of a stick. You give me a ball that's about 1.5 inches in diameter, right?
Sorry, I'm just being toxic.
And they say, now there's a hole somewhere over there about 400 yards, 4 football fields away, with all kind of terrain, dirt, trees, high grass, low grass, short grass. You have 4 swings
To get it over there.
to get it in that hole, just to go to the next one and be in good standings. That the competitive side of me allows me to tap into that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was many a nights, many a mornings even, of just hours and hours, and you were trying. They had it to where the more you win, and by the gap you win, the better equipment you can get, the better attributes. You know, you can add power, you can add finesse, you can add all those things,
speed and all that.
Now, most people look at my list and be like, "Your list is trash, son. It's boo boo."
But
It's
like
my list.
You can see from the difference, or you can see it like in the difference of players.
I mean, I could have did some honorable mentions in there.
Yeah, because like we said, this is off the top of our head. If we wanted to make a full de facto list, it'd be.
You know, we might need to do that.
I would
not this episode, but maybe in another episode we should literally write down
like our personal list. But that might be a week or two ahead of time, depending on how.
Because you know, if I were to sit down and I'd be like, okay, my list is my list. This day, this moment, top of my head. If I had all the consoles sitting in front of me, these are the 4 games that I would gravitate towards.
Yeah.
But I might wake up in the morning and be sitting on the toilet and be like, you know what? I left out this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If I was to ask my younger brother, who will be providing the gameplay for us, he might give us Brawlhalla. He might give us a few shooters. He might give us a few games that he plays. And it's just like...
I forgot GoldenEye 007. I played that game until the cartridge. But now this is showing my age.
Yeah,
the cartridge.
I've seen it.
Matter of fact, I left out Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Which has been remastered at this point.
You
1 and 2.
You were young.
I played
that was my game. See, you see what I'm saying? Like, if we were to write that one, ooh.
If we were to actually make a de facto list, and like, you know what? Yeah, no. Here, next podcast, that will be our list. We'll be we'll go my
Rushmore.
Well, no, we'll just go if we want, depending on the person. I could say top 10, or we could do a top 5.
That's too many.
Two for you.
That's too many for me.
Because you will have a top 4. You'll have a Mount Rushmore. I'll have a top 10.
Top 10 for me would start getting in games that'd be like, okay, I'm just filling out the list now.
Yeah.
And not necessarily. Now that'd definitely be
I really have to think about
in the moment.
Yeah.
I'll be in the moment. This made the top 10, and then next week it'd be like.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, you had Contra. You had, oh my goodness.
But if you genuinely enjoyed those games, but I guess
Mega Man.
Yeah, Mega Man's a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Look at you.
Okay.
What's some more there? Throw some out.
What's some games that we personally like, or we both have
just
played?
Start throwing out games that you be like, I forgot about that one right there.
For me, it was Devil May Cry, the Devil May Cry series that came up. I can't play this around my grandma because she will get heated.
What about Tetris?
Tetris, that's a game that's been on everything.
You can play that for hours.
I remember my mom's old flip phone had Tetris on it. That's how old it was.
Yes.
Yes. Again, Mega Man, Sonic.
NBA Jam.
NBA
What
Jam.
are we talking? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Personally, even though I don't like playing online, I like Mortal Kombat.
Tecmo Bowl. See, these I'm naming off games.
Yes.
These games are for the old heads. Cashmere probably has no idea these games that are
Some
made.
of them I do. Some of them I do. I just like I know NBA Jam. I know
Yeah.
Mega Man. I know
He's
Contra.
on fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Like
Mike Tyson Punch Out.
we were just kind of like naming off games right here, but yeah, like you get the idea. Like naming off games off the top of our head. Like these are things we could easily include on the list of things we like. It's
Yes.
like, it's like
But would they be Mount Rushmore?
if they would be like the top 4.
I
can
feel
make
like Mario Brothers the series
it's something like that has to be
It has to be on there. Cause you gotta have Mario's face on the side of that mountain.
like it's like,
It's
Mar-
like
what's
a
my-
de facto.
Mario and Sonic are the first games I have memory of playing.
Okay.
Super Mario Bros.
3.
Super Mario. I think it was like Super Mario World. Yoshi, the one where you could
Yeah.
Super Mario World. That's when I have for the game where I remember. I had the Sega like 6-in-1 game.
Yeah,
I had,
yeah.
Sonic was one of the games I played. Mortal Kombat Deadly Lance was a game I remember playing. I probably shouldn't be at 4 years old, but at that time I didn't understand violence. I was like, oh, like this is kind of like my
And I
dad
did-
lost because he's like, you know, it's been a long day. I just want to blow off the steam. I was like, I lost, whatever. I was like, oh, why don't you keep playing? I'm like, I don't feel like it. I was like, oh, you just press A. I was like, I was a dumb little kid. I was 4 years old. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, I guess I just wanted to play the thing. But I guess we're kind of approaching the limit in terms of recording because for my recording device and because it's going to be a podcast, it's going to take up a lot of space.
And you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you can break these down into
And like two individual parts, like maybe like 1, 2, maybe depending on how I feel. I might upload the whole part, or I might just upload it in pieces, depending on how I feel. But I guess going back to this with our frustration in games and being, I guess I could finish off with a more modern example. Being Cyberpunk should have been on next gen consoles and made exclusive before that, and Mortal Kombat X being forced onto the Xbox One because they didn't want to do that. Xenoverse, the first one, was available on the Xbox One, PS3, Xbox 360, and the PS4.
Right.
But you did get like a subpar version with the 360 and the 3 version because, well, you couldn't transfer your data over. So if you beat the whole game, you're like, oh, I want to transfer my data. You can't. You're stuck with that. So a more modern example that I'm hoping does not happen would be Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition and Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Xbox One. Those are the two modern examples where they came out on a system currently right now that I do not have access to because scalpers want to buy up everything and sell them at ridiculous rates, or they just don't have them.
Jerks.
That being said, I'm just hoping it's not going to be a situation where I am kind of like not forced, but in a very, very reluctant position to buy
I'm about to make a prediction.
Hopefully you're not right, but
No, I'm definitely gonna be right. I have foresight in some regard when it comes to these types of things. The manufacturers are getting fed up with the fact that yes, they got their money, and like you said, scalpers, right?
Yeah,
the
scalpers
aftermarket.
buying it and selling it for double, triple,
It's the
quadruple
reason
the
why
price.
Michael Jordan sells his shoes for as expensive as he does now, because he knows that on the back end, these people are going to be selling these shoes for thousands of dollars. I think with smart TVs and all these things, I believe that it's going to get to a point where you're going to buy a subscription, and it'll be all digital, no consoles. I'm telling you right now, they're going to go to a point where there's no consoles because they're tired of people. I saw it with my own eyes the day the PS5 came out.
Oh, yeah.
I was at work, and there was people, it was a couple, and each one of them had a PS5 underneath their arms. Now, most people were saying, oh, well, maybe they're going to have one at her house and one at his house. I was like, no. Were they going to have two at each other's house? No.
maybe they can play together is the thing.
They probably took the little money they stashed up and considered that an investment. We'll spend the $500 now for each one of those, so that would have been $2,000. When they probably could sell them for $800 a piece or more, depending on the demand,
Which is pretty high at this
and
point.
double
so
their money, low key.
that could happen. I don't.
Now, how would you feel? Say, okay, like with my business, right? Sweet daddies, treats, desserts coming at you. Now imagine I sell a pack of cookies, 3 cookies for like $2.
All right.
You take them cookies and you're selling them at work for $6. And I know that you're selling them at work for $6.
Yeah.
How can I sit there and be like, hey, I got my money? No,
Right.
I know that you're making more off my product than I am. And I will have a problem with that. And the only way they're going to be able to shortstop that is to go completely digital, like almost like a Netflix subscription.
Like I could kind of see that. I hope because the reason one
But
of
you'll
my
be able to get your games now instead of instead of getting the system to be able to play the game.
you can have your TV player.
You can have your TV playing, and you're not gonna have to stand in line. You're not gonna get scalpers. You're not gonna have to. It's like when I bought the Xbox One.
Yeah, you got a used version of the Xbox One. You're like it still runs perfectly fine. Well, I won't say perfectly. We have some problems with the physical
Nope,
game.
I bought that one new.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Oh, never mind. I thought you bought it used.
No, I didn't. I bought the 360 used, but that Xbox One, because when they sent me that email and they said that they weren't gonna do Mortal Kombat X on there, and that it was like, okay, well, I gotta get the console because it went from me buying the game for $80 to me getting the console for $400. But I remember I told your mother, I said I had promised y'all, and remember I said the trailer came out at the beginning of the year.
I think I was 13, I believe, at the time.
Yeah.
13, 14, somewhere in that range. And the middle brother who's playing for us right now, he's 4 years younger than me. So 7, 8, around that range.
And y'all have been talking about, oh, it's coming out next month. Oh, it's coming out in 3 weeks. Oh, it's coming out in 2 weeks. So I'm like,
we were hyped. And to be fair, I have that expectation now. I'm like, all right, I can't get anything I want, everything I want. Personal story aside, like, really, like, since I'm an adult now, my mom just asked me, what do you want for Christmas? I said, look, I'll go with you half and half on this thing, and that's all I asked for. Because, to be fair, I said I buy it used, I buy it cheaply, and she said, you crazy? I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Like, you crazy? I'm like, fine, I'll go 2/3. I'll buy most of it. And she was like, all right, fine. And then scalpers came along and bought all the used consoles, and like, oh hey, finally I found a cheap one. I'm like, yeah, and so I bought. I'm like, but going back to that, I'm like, I'm hopefully praying that the Square Enix or whatever company is developing the games for Final Fantasy VII Remake, hopefully they still release it, I believe in March or April, Final Fantasy VII on the Xbox One, and not just make it next-gen exclusive.
I'll tell you another thing, too. With all this COVID going around, standing in line and doing all these things for games and consoles, it's going to become obsolete. Just like malls are closing down left and right. Because people can go, why would I go and stand in line at Best Buy when I could pre-order it online and sit in the comfort of my house and just wait for it to arrive?
Well, but then I guess at the time, some people were running the risk of.
Do not steal my idea, all you big companies out there. You heard it here first. If y'all can go completely digital and make the actual console obsolete, kind of like how DVDs
are coming. They're like DVDs replace VHS, and the subscription service are replacing DVDs.
Right. So there's no, and then now with your console, they got non-physical copies.
That's how it was for the Xbox Series S. You don't get physical copies; you just buy the game digital.
That's what I'm saying. It's moving there. If they can get it to a point where it's just
like they want to cut out the middleman and say
scalpers would have to find a new hustle. They're gonna be out here hustling filet of fishes.
Not even for like they want your money directly now. Companies, they don't really like GameStop, which their prime motive is to sell used copies. So
Which I absolutely love because it's new to me.
it's new to me, and that's
I
how
always said that.
yeah. But again, going back to like, I'm hopefully praying that they don't just do you dirty in a sense, like they're do me dirty like they did you years and years ago at this point, where it's like, nah, we're gonna make it next gen console only. I'm like, because if I'm being honest, I'm a
$400
I'm a broke college student. I don't have a job.
for now.
For now, like the job I would have during the summer, where I'd have a little extra cash laying around, we couldn't do anymore because COVID, and because the person and the person organizing the event had a serious injury.
Mm-hmm.
Who, my heart goes out to her. I won't say her name
Right.
for safety reasons, obviously. So, wow, we've been almost talking for an hour now at this point. So, I guess we can start cutting it here because my recording device now is starting to go to reach its limit soon,
Right.
and we this is just kind of like a testing. So maybe next week we can come in with
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore for late night, CJ,
And
maybe
I
a top 5 for me.
I got one more. Not only with the Mount or top games of all time,
in your opinion,
and then
We
we
gotta
can
say
be,
that.
in my opinion,
you gotta say that, or else people will
and
hate us.
top consoles of all
Oh,
time.
well, I'm kind of limited on that front, but
Oh yeah, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this.
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
I have the scrolls like the Book of Eli.
hey, gonna kind of ask you to cut the recording soon. That's my So
He can on the way out. We can just wrap it up here.
we're gonna wrap it up here. I am Omega Zero.
I am Late Night CJ on YouTube, aka Sweet Daddy in the streets.
And this has been our first podcast on our thoughts. If I can get the chance in the future, maybe I could get my younger brother to come in. Maybe I can get
I went through
My-
a whole pot of coffee. How much time did we?
almost an hour.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's gonna be at least about 4 segments.
If I want to, depending on how this goes, I can maybe chop it up in like 1, 2, 3. But
Right.
anyways, that's us signing off. Hopefully you all had an enjoyable time listening to us talk and ramble and go on. All right, and this is us signing out.